We're gonna get a chance for team of Hamburger with Christian, Lilithian, Limp and Liam, and Nikes. Another chance, another run. But they are gonna be going up against another team with Athelman on Team Red. He's human. Okay, he's human. Why is Athel Team Red? Gavinci? There is Alliance. Okay. Normally our Alliance team would be blue, but I guess the second team is the other one. We got ourselves Gavinci, we got ourselves Athel on our B, we got ourselves Life. Gonna be giving everybody the death. We got Purple Haze on his Assassination Rogue instead of a Demon Hunter, and we got Death as a Feral Druid. Okay, this is gonna be interesting. And Athel, but looking like it's gonna be up first. It's gonna be up on his Honeyback Harvester versus Lithian as a Demon Hunter. That's going to be a first one of the day. Hopefully Lithian has a bit of an easier time with Athelman than they did with Fortin. You're just showing off your mount. I have them. Dude, Kren helped me get the mount. Kren! Let me tell you how cool of a Kren. Let me tell you how good of a girl Kren is. Kren farmed all of the jellies I needed to turn in the rep stuff for the B mount. That's why I have a B. I think it's cool that you can get your friends to help you get the B mount stuff. I think that's cool. They should add more events like this in the game. But that's going to be Lithian getting that open onto Athel after slapping him around with a full Cyclotronic. Going to be a second trinket onto Athel. Double on his trinket for Lithian. Got all the cooldowns up and running. And it's going to back up as soon as you see that Shield of Vengeance. Going to sit behind the pillar for a second. Waited out a little bit. Athel not wasting any of that time. He's going to get back in right on top of Lithian. Try to see if he can get some damage in. Going to be Shield of Vengeance popping off. Not the biggest hit ever. As Lithian tried to wait it out as best as they could. Gonna get a concentrated flame onto Athel. And it looks like it was almost Athel predicted that Lithian was gonna fly up in the air. He got behind. He got himself some cover. And Athel's looking to maybe go for a little bit of reset here. This is where Lithian could pounce on him. Athel is going to position himself to a bit of a different setup around this corner. Paladins do love to kite everybody around with the slow the Paladins have with a hand of hindrance. And it's quite an effective slow. Going to be an Execution Sentence onto Lithian a little bit early. Is he going to go for a full Hodge? Is Athel playing the big setup? He's going to go for a stun. Wings coming out. Blood of the enemy. Huge damage coming out. Big Judgment. I don't think that Judgment was the biggest one ever though. But it was a Templars. Judgment. Templars. Huge damage on Lithian. Dropping him down quite low. They're going to pop down the Warlock Hellstone. Dropping into darkness. And Athel is going to count himself a bit of a heal. Is Lithian even going to be able to interrupt it? I don't think Lithian even has an interrupt available. They might have missed it there. It's going to be a Metamorphosis on top of Athel, and it still has wings up and running, burning. Lithian burning that concentrated flame as a defensive. Another Hodge by Athel. It's going to go for a second set of wings. That could be the biggest damage possible. Lithian just getting shredded, but they still are somehow surviving. Still have plenty of health to survive through the onslaught bubble coming out of Athel. And Lithian is going to fly out of the air. They are watching the health a lot better than in the last duel. They're making sure that they're going to fly up in the air. They're not going to put himself in a bad situation because they can't do anything. They're up in the air. And all they can do is pelt their enemy, pelt their opposition with Fel Lances back to back. But that's about all you can do. So hopefully, yeah, as long as they set himself up in a good spot, plenty of health to work with, they'll fly up in the air a little bit early as soon as they see some massive cooldowns out of the enemy, just to put themselves out of danger. Kind of like a bubble. But it's like a bubble where you still can get hit through it, through like the last 2 seconds of it. And all you can do is spam this powerful ability. So it's a very, very interesting way how they're using it. 3 minutes in though, Dampening is going to start kicking in just a couple of minutes. Lithian hasn't been able to make quite a huge progress on Athel. They were able to get a bubble out, which is a pretty long cooldown. But so far, they haven't really been able to pressure Athelman quite as heavily. Tricky coming out for Lithian as Athel does throw out a Judgment. And there's going to be another bite coming in as Lithian does have a little bit of extra haste and a bit more damage while in Metamorphosis up and running with a Demonic. Cyclotronic doesn't quite land it. Athel might have to push in. It's going to get himself a Shield of Vengeance. And Lithian is going to fly up in there yet again. Force Athelman out in the open. That is such a good play. Trying to see if he can get through more cooldowns without a Shield of Vengeance. Athelman is kind of out in the open. That adaptation is the only thing he might have available for him. Adaptation and Bob. Blessing of Protection might be the only thing that he's got. So Lithian might be able to do this here. If they go in super hyper aggressive, super hyper self-heal capabilities, maintain their health high while being able to put out huge damage, they might have a chance. I feel like this is a perfect opportunity to show in IBM onto Atha while they're stunned up with a blade dance. Atha is going to be dropping down in his health. He could go for a reset. That is going to be a trinket not available for a Lithian. Does get hit with the execution. Athaman could get himself a setup for huge Templars. Wings are coming out. Is that blood of the enemy? It is blood of the enemy. Templars into a AoE. Another Templars coming out. Atha only has a blessing of protection. That's going to be something Lithian can actually break through. Sage trinket coming out. Could try to dispel it. Not going to go for it, or at least try to see if he can go for it, but a little bit late. Not using that interrupt quite yet onto Atha, or maybe missing that interrupt. Lithian getting hit with a rebuke. Stun onto Atha. Could that actually close out the game? Lithian getting hit with a huge damage back onto Atha. He's going counter aggressive. Lithian is going to still try to stay in pursuit. Going to try to save those fell lances. Going to be enough to get Atha, but he does have that line of sight that he can dip behind. Lithian running out of cooldowns. Darkness is the only thing that truly have available right now. Unless a trinket, if they could buy their time until 20 minutes for that trinket, they could have a chance. I feel like this is the longest duel we've had between a Demon Hunter and Atha, and Lithian is not even running a healing build with healing trinkets from Underrot either. I would understand if maybe they were running some crazy trinket setup, but they're hyper offensive. Gonna be wings for Atha, wings inside of that Hodge. Is that gonna be enough? Darkness comes out for Lithian. Is that gonna be enough to keep himself alive? Trying to stay here as long as possible. Does get a bite back at Atha. Could maybe interrupt the one. Oh, Atha has a blessing protection. Try to save this long enough until he has a shield of Venus. Getting those judgments in there. Lithian is gonna go for Cyclotronic. Does connect, shield of Venus coming down. Does Lithian have anything for it? Stun onto Atha, might want to fly up in the air. Doesn't have a way to go flying up yet. Doesn't have access to that raid from above right now, but does have a little bit of health. Stun onto Atha. Doesn't get him out the open. Maybe might be able to. He's gonna fly up in there. Atha needs to start healing. It's gonna be a test of will. Who's got more healing? Who's got more damage? Atha trying to see if he can fight right through it. Hodge into Lithian. No chicken available. Blood of the enemy. Looking traded. Chicken coming out for Lithian at the very last second. Do they get enough out of this? And Athaman does end up executing them with a hammer of the righteous. That was incredible. It looks like Hamburger is letting him have the honor duel here. Looks like he's letting him have honor duel if, yeah, life, death, all those guys. If you guys want to help him get up full, I think that's allowed. He's letting you. He's letting you. He's like, I want to have you on honor duel. But it's going to be an opener by Hamburger playing the boomkin. Almost convincing us that he is a feral, but that is a boomkin. Dropping down all of those trees on top of Atha to start beating up on him. 6 minutes in, almost 7 minutes in, we are at 12% dampening. Hodge coming in onto Hamburger. Is that going to force a defensive? Is that going to force his hand? Athaman got 0 damage on the guy right now. And Hamburger is looking to maybe get the hell out of there. Atha's actually going to wait right for him. Hamburger could try to see. Oh, he didn't actually cancel it. He springboarded himself back to where he wanted. I wonder if he can actually cancel that translocation from the essence. You know, juke somebody out like, well, I'm going to go here and then just cancel it. I think you can. So Hamburger might just want to try to incorporate that into playstyle. Athaman does have wings up and running, but did have to sit through a full silence. He's trying to get some damage back into the boomkin. Hamburger, he does get to dip away from Atha for a second. Quite a lot of damage coming out from the balance druid into a disarm where Atha can get the biggest damage in. Does get the execution sentence. That is going to be thorns out of Hamburger. Atha does a bubble if he can somehow get it. That's going to be a Hodge. Hamburger is looking to maybe end this. Doesn't have a way to silence. He's trying to see if he can shred some damage into Atha. Needs himself a huge hit. It's actually going to be bubble out of Atha. As he knows he's super low in health. Decided to go for a self-heal playstyle. Hamburger is going to catch a few regrowths here and there, and they're going to exchange a couple spells, and that's going to be all those trees. All the Atha's loyal fans are up here, all dressed with the same Paladin yellow colors. Hey man, can I get you autograph? Just barraging the guy. It's going to be a not a trinket out of Atha. Shortest on DR, however, and Hamburger looks like he's going to go back up to Athaman. He does. War stomping him in the beginning with a root and a silence. Athaman is actually kind of caught out in the middle of nowhere, and Hamburger might be able to finish him up with a couple spells, looking to get his rats in. Athaman does get a few flashlights back to back. That's all he's really got to deal with this. Both of these two are super low in health. Atha doesn't have the mana anymore to maintain himself. He barely gets himself one last heal. Hodge and Hamburger, he gets himself a Barksian. Is that going to be enough to keep himself alive? And Atha does get to clap him out in the end. That's two people back to back. Limp and Liam getting a conflag to try to set up a chaos bolt, and Athaman, I think, give him a yes or a cry. I can't imagine. I can't remember. It was hard to tell. But Limpinium does end the killing spear of Atha, but it does give him a nice bow. It's going to be disrupted by Purple Haze, opening up with a full kidney shot onto Limpinium, but it's going to go for a little bit of a reset, actually. He's just going to go far, far away. I guess he wants to take the image with him, or the pet with him. Or maybe he wants to go for honor duel. Maybe he wants to go for honor duel. Maybe he realizes that he's giving him that bow. Because he didn't continue on with all the damage. He just hit him with a kidney shot, ran away, and re-stealth. It didn't look like he committed any cooldowns either. Liam does catch him with an eye, though. It's going to be a smoke bomb for Purple Haze to catch himself a little bit of that line of sight. Shadow Step into Limp and Liam. Trick gets out of it immediately. That's going to be Cloak of Shadows for Purple Haze. This is going to be... Purple Haze is not going to get hit by any CC for a bit. Does get an interrupt onto Limp and Liam, I think on a Chaos Bolt. So Limp is actually locked out. Does he have the Succubus CC by the Succubus? I don't look like he does. Going to drop down the Infernal with a Shot of Fury. Chaos Bolt might be fast enough out. Does he get it out? He does get a full one out. That is going to be a restyle by Purple. A vanish. And a blind onto Limp and Liam, I guess, in case Limp and Liam does hit him with an AoE anywhere. Purple Haze wants to make sure to sit out the full CC. Going to be a stun onto Limp, and Purple Haze trying to see if he can get himself a bit of a setup. Could be a Succubus CC from afar. He does land, and going to be a Chaos Bolt from afar. Limp and Liam does still have the Infernal in place, so it's going to be quite a big Chaos Bolt. Try to see if he can bail out of there. Doesn't get hit by the second Chaos Bolt. That was a Void of Racial to scurry him out of that situation, although Limp and Liam does have a pretty big dot setting onto Purple Haze. If he can go and refresh that Immolate, that'll be good. Cheap shot onto Limp and Liam. Does he have any answer here anymore, though? Does he have a Warlock House on Kidney shot? That could be the end of him right now. Purple Haze looking to end him right here. Horror Effect does get him in the other direction with a Fury to follow, and a Chaos Bolt might be enough to finish it. Immolate to follow. Maybe Calm Flag at all. Maybe anything. Does get himself an Incinerate at the end and does take him out. Next up is going to be Death the Feral. Not letting Limp and Liam get himself a full reset. He's going to try to go for some food, but that's going to be an open up by the Feral. And I think Limp and Liam doesn't have anything left here. Does try to get himself a Reflect, although to no avail. Christia is up next. Doesn't want to let the Feral restyle. Wings coming out of the bat with the blood of the enemy. This way a lot of damage could happen. Looks like Limp and Liam or Death or Christia, both of them, either one of them are lagging. Huge damage out of Christia, though. Death having to trick in this with a wall right now. Trying to see if he can survive a little bit through this damage output by the Paladin. Might want to use the mobility to leverage, just running away from the competition. Bash onto Christia. He does trick it out of it with a Shield of Vengeance. Looks like both of these guys are lagging a little bit, because they're seeing each other in a different position. And a lot of backpedaling at a guy named Death. But that's Christia taking him out. Next up is going to be Gavinci. Oh, wow. That's what gnomes look like riding that bike. They actually have to stand up. That's so weird. I've never seen it. But he's playing still. That Frost Death are going to get their AMS rolling in case Christia does go for a Hodge. And it looks like Gavinci got himself blood of the enemy rolling too with a big old explosive having in. Actually, Christia trying not to get himself a cast so he can bubble at a later. So trying not to get interrupted. Gavinci does have IBF rolling. That's going to be a bubble out of Christia. Does get himself a flash of light. Gavinci got such huge damage out of Christia in the opener there, though. Looking to maybe go in for that damage yet again. He might still be able to. Christia is going to mount up, trying to see if he can buy himself some time with Gavinci. All they have is a Blessing of Protection that is not going to keep him alive against a Death Knight. Going to be a Chain of Eyes by Gavinci, Hand of Freedom out of Christia, so at least they can stay mobile. But Christia should be trying to get away from Gavinci whenever they can, as Gavinci got himself another cooldown, set of cooldowns rolling right now. Bob coming out. Gavinci could maybe try to say, no, he actually has nothing for this Hodge. If Christia doesn't finish him right here, this could still be the end. Gavinci is still in the game. Blood of the enemy coming out for Christia. Does Gavinci have Death Strikes to follow? Henry burned through that necrotic of his own health. Does he have anything here? He does actually get cleaved by Christia, and live continuing into the next duel right after with a Siphon full dots onto Christia and a Shadow Fiend. Christia has nothing left. Just try to see if he can manage with the damage over time at a 48% dampening against the Shadow Priest. Does get himself the smallest Shield of Vengeance. The Shield of Vengeance does shrink with the dampening, and down goes Christia as live goes into Void Form and getting dots onto Nyx. He knows that as a Shadow Priest, he needs to get the damage rolling. He needs to keep the ramp running into a fear onto Nyx. This is where life could go for a big setup. Is going to get re-dots, I think, on the pet Crypt Muncher. That's going to be Necrotic's going to stack up. Nyx does get himself an AMS. Life is not in a good set right now. It's going to be full armor with it rolling up. Does get a redot onto... No, almost gets a redot with a Nyx and an Abomination to follow. Might have to go for a full Disperse here. Looks like he's not even going to go for that. Unless he used Disperse a little bit earlier. And down he goes. It looks like, though, he had Disperse available. But that's going to be quite a close duel between Athaman, between what was it, Lilithian and Hamburger. That was such a close duel. That was actually the closest duel I've ever seen. I don't even know. I don't even know. Whoops, LMAO. Oh, you have a wrong cloak?